Today's episode, you're going to see a friendly face returning if you're watching on YouTube, and hear a friendly face returning if you're listening on any podcatcher. This is episode 57, and before we start the show, I've got a special offer for our listeners from friend of the show, author and content creator Shane Radliff of Liberty Under Attack Publications. You can take 10% off your order by using coupon code DANK10, DANK10. Just go to libertyunderattack.com to take 10% off books, services including audiobook production, formatting for Kindle and paperback, editing and proofreading. Some of those books include #Agora, second round book on strategy, Ben Stone's Sedition, Subversion, and Sabotage, Shane's very own Vonu, A Strategy for Self-Liberation, and some new titles. Remember that. Liberty Under Attack Publications. Share your story, find your freedom. Also, shout out to Bad Moon Hemp. Check out badmoonhemp.wordpress.com. It's your one-stop shop for all your handmade hemp needs, including their beard balms and oils, which I use and I love. And make sure to stick around through the very end of the episode. It's a great episode, but at the very end, we got some announcements for you. New stuff coming from the stash, new content on YouTube, new Patreon rewards, some really good ones, guys. I appreciate all the support. Even if you don't find yourself going to the Patreon and donating to the show, getting those rewards, I'd really appreciate a like, subscribe, review, any of that on any podcast or social media platform would mean the world to me. Now enjoy episode 57 of Enemy of the State's Dank Pod-Stash.
Enemy of the state.
An enemy of the state.
Enemy of the state.
Dank Pod-Stash.
You're listening to Enemy of the State's Dank Pod-Stash. Check out thedankpodstash.com to find every episode of the Dank Pod-Stash, links to support the show via our BitBacker and Patreon, Dank Pod-Stash merchandise, and much more. If you'd like to advertise on the Dank Pod-Stash, email us at dankpodstash@gmail.com. And here we go. Another episode of Enemy of the State's Dank Pod-Stash. And who's this familiar face we're seeing here? You guys know who this is if you're watching the YouTube video. If you're not, then you're going to hear his voice in a second. You're going to know, wait a minute, this guy was just on the show. And he's back again because Daniel Johnson is my knight in shining armor who jumps on the show when when people bail and we got to reschedule. And it's always fun to talk to Daniel. What's up, Broheim?
What up, dude? How's it going?
Oh, shit. We were just talking about how it was going. It's been a crazy morning.
Yeah.
Some Thai food last night not working out for me. People walking around in the woods outside my property and my dog's freaking out. Yeah, so a little late getting recording, but I appreciate you being here.
Yeah, no problem, man.
Hell
Love talking to you.
Yeah. I don't know. Yeah, there are some things we want to talk about, but we don't know if we should talk about, like hand sanitizer and stuff like that. Maybe that'll come up naturally. We don't need to just bring it up. But
you can, if you have any questions, you can go look at it on Anarcho Taco Ball.
Oh, nice. Okay, so it's public now. Y'all are just gonna have to go see Anarcho Taco Ball to see what we're talking about. Hell yeah. No, man, but it's been an interesting week, in the news, at least in the status news. You got the Epstein didn't kill himself meme making it to the mainstream on Fox.
That was awesome.
That's hilarious.
We'll see how long that guy survives.
Yeah. See if he's gonna get suicided.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Should we thank him for his service?
That's what I was gonna say. So let me lay this out for the listeners here. It was on Fox News on the Waters show, or some guy named Waters, I don't know. But they brought a former Navy SEAL. His name is Mike Ritland. He's a canine trainer, founder of Warrior Dog Foundation, and yeah, he was on Waters World on Saturday to discuss the dog. He was discussing the dog who helped U.S. troops take out Abu Bakr al-Baghdadi. I just call him Baghdadi. He's dead now anyway, so I guess he's not anybody's daddy. But Yeah, so they're discussing the dog and dog training and stuff like that. And I guess he asked the host to just if he could say something real quick. And he was talking about all the dogs and the foundation or whatever he works for. And then at the end, he's like, and Jeffrey Epstein didn't kill himself.
It was awesome.
Yeah, that's puts you in a weird spot with thank you for your service, doesn't it? Because it's like, wait a minute. I don't want to thank him for his military service, but that service, thank you for that service.
Yes. Right. No, that's it's good to see people knowing about it, being aware.
Yeah.
I mean, I think the state has done a ton to try and get people to forget about it with shootings and other craziness in the news.
Mm-hmm.
But it seems to be the big thing right now. You remember how, and not just in anarchist circles, but all over. The big thing when in anarchist circles a year ago was just, or a couple years ago, everything was just taxation is theft, taxation is theft. And they kind of slide that in there, but now it's Jeffrey Epstein didn't kill himself, and it's across party lines and groups. It's pretty good to see.
Yeah, man. Once again, the power of memes, because I think that's the only reason this is still alive, is because of the memes. And it's definitely rippling outwards from the anarchist meme community. Like that's the core of the Epstein didn't kill himself memes. It's coming from anarchists, then it's coming from libertarians, and then it's just spreading outward and it's becoming mainstream, which is awesome, which just goes to show what memes do.
Right. Even my wife's quite liberal friends are like, yeah, there's no way he killed himself. I think it's pretty evident and pretty, I think it's common sense that, there's no way this guy killed himself. So,
right.
I don't know that anything will happen, or if it'll just be this joke that people continue to joke about until that dies down. But hey, hopefully something happens.
Well, yeah,
it's
not dying down right now. It's going hard, and even like if it slows down a bit and people come across these memes, they're gonna be like, "Wait, what? What's this all about? Somebody tell me about this."
Right.
And so to play devil's advocate too, like I saw a homie Andrew Merrick who has the Agora podcast, and he runs that page, the Agora. He was on here a few episodes ago, posting something about I can't remember, but his usual antagonistic self, going against the grain of what people are thinking. He posted something about, you don't know if Jeffrey Epstein did or didn't kill himself, or there's no evidence of this or whatever. And he is right factually. Like the only evidence we have is the stuff that they're willing to tell us, the people who fucking know, or the media, or lie about even. But looking at the circumstances, that's a pretty safe conclusion to draw, I think.
Right. I mean, I have a close friend, and I do give him a hard time. Unfortunately, he does believe that Epstein killed himself, and he sees no evidence, indicating otherwise. And I point out, there's no, like, people who honestly think he killed himself. I mean, he was on suicide watch, or as they say. If he truly was on suicide watch, there's so many factors that go into that. I mean, you're basically given a paper gown. There's nothing in there that you can hang yourself from, and broken bones don't just happen in the neck, from like hanging yourself from a bedpost. You'd have to fall pretty hard or be choked. And what was it? The cops left for a half an hour or something, or 2 hours or something?
Yeah, the cops were...
Or the people watching?
Yeah, his attendants or whatever, the correctional officers were magically not at their posts, and cameras malfunctioned. during that time, and that's
Right.
the thing that screams foul play the most. And
It's like all these factors, and really, you think he killed himself?
Right.
I love the guy, but I'm like, dude, you're dead wrong, man. I think it's pretty clear that he did or didn't kill himself. So
right, yeah, I like the meme that came out shortly after, where they put Epstein's head on an Olympic diver with a roll of toilet paper as a noose off the top bunk. It's like, if you believe this happened, there's something wrong with you. Cannonballing off the top bunk. Because yeah, the broken bones, like, come on, yeah, that's from getting dropped and hung. If you're gonna have broken bones in your neck, that was how people got killed that way a lot of times. Is you separated the the bones and the spinal column to kill somebody. So
he did, yeah.
I don't see how that's gonna happen here.
He didn't fall from the gallows.
Fucking broken. Yeah, exactly. Exactly. If your neck's broken by being murdered, that's another thing.
Right. Yeah, the memes are good. I'd like them to keep going, and hopefully see maybe some people face justice for this. I'm hoping that there is some sort of what is that term, like a fail safe? I can't remember.
Oh,
like
a dead man switch.
Right. Yeah. I'm hoping that there's something that is revealed. I would like to see, suppose whoever these politicians and celebrities are, I'd like to see them be named.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, he supposedly has a black book, and there were documents that were supposed to be released, like the day of the shooting, right before he killed himself, before one of the mass shootings. So there's one distraction.
Right. Now that's convenient too.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. And then he killed himself. So the stuff's out there. What I'm thinking is, like, what I understand, this is awareness is what the memes are doing, getting people to think. I don't see how this travels over to necessarily seeing justice or seeing what actually happened. I don't think that, a change.org position is not going to get somebody to reopen this case and tell us, oh yeah, these are all the fucking pedophiles and child traffickers in government and stuff. It's kind of like the same thing as the Area 51. It's the same thing that is the frustration with all of these big movements, cultural movements, not necessarily organized movements that we're seeing, is that it looks serious. It looks like something's going to happen, and then something gets fucked up. Epstein suicides himself. Area 51, everything drops out. They make it into a music festival, make money off it, and there's only a few weebs who show up to the gates and talk about clapping cheeks and stuff like that. All these movements, get diffused by the mainstream media or whatever they're getting fucked up by. But the thing is, the ideas in culture are still there. The willingness to question government, to push back, and to get the information out there. So that's what I like to lean into, are those ideas, is keeping the questioning culture alive.
I agree. If nothing happens, at least we can get people to, do exactly that, question, and if we can get more people to not trust the government out of this, then that's a step in the right direction. On the subject of Epstein, one of the disagreements I had with my friend that believes he killed himself was, I think he believes there's no possible way to keep a secret like that with so many people. And I was thinking about that. It seems to make sense. I was recently listening to the podcast on Joe Rogan with Edward Snowden, and the steps he took to, expose what the government was doing. And before that, there there were all the, I don't know if you remember it, but there were all these rumors like, hey, the government's spying on you, the government's spying on you, and so many people were saying it, but it kind of was, you know, brushed under the rug, and people didn't believe it. And then Edward Snowden came out, and the government, you know, before that, it said, nah, we're not spying on you. And then when that happened, you know, they got really defensive, and they went after him, and they're like, well, it was for your security.
Right.
And I was thinking about that as a secret, you know, the whole spying thing. Going back to Epstein, like, if it doesn't, it's not necessarily convincing people to keep a secret. I think it's maybe convincing people, in order to keep a secret on a massive scale like that. Yeah, dead men tell no tales, but I think it's more convincing people it's not important.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Or just threatening their jobs.
Right.
People want to keep their jobs, and if they are threatened with, you know, termination, yeah, they'll keep a secret. It's not that difficult. And that's what happened with Snowden, and you know, those that spying and everything, and in this case, it could be the same thing. Maybe people that do know the truth are afraid to lose their jobs.
Right. Well, or they're just convinced that it's not important. Sure. And that's one thing about conspiracies. That's one of I don't want to call them deniers, because it's not like I buy into every conspiracy, but for lack of a better term, conspiracy theory deniers love saying, oh, well, there's too many people involved, there's no way they'd be able to keep it a secret. You know, that's why it's not this massive conspiracy. And I don't know if that's 100% true, because look at all the massive things that were people who were trying to talk about them were being called conspiracy theorists, just like you said, with the government spying on us and stuff for years. And there's a massive operation. That's thousands of people involved in NSA, CIA, whatever, data collection and stuff like that. And then people are like, no, it's not happening. That happens. And the same people that are naysaying, they're going to find a way to naysay anything. They're not changing their mind, and they don't really give a shit when they're proven wrong. They're like, oh, well, I guess it was true. On to the next thing to say is bullshit. I'm wondering about that.
Right. It's there's so many things that they can do to keep a secret on a massive scale, and it's not necessarily convincing a person, hey, keep a secret, you know, be loyal to me. It's probably more on the lines of, again, threatening their jobs, convincing them that it's not important, or convincing them that it's for the good of everyone.
Sure.
Possibly with the Epstein thing, I probably think it's, you know, the threat of losing someone's job, whoever might know.
Losing someone's job, and also the threat of everyone involved in any government work that would know about that, you know, elected officials, just regular NSA, CIA employees, things like that, the threat of losing government. If they find out that the majority or even a large number of people in government are pedophiles and involved in child trafficking and even satanic fucking rituals. Imagine if just that came out. If you find out there's a huge sect of people who follow, you know, weird fucking satanic ritual shit in our government, how would people react to that? That's a huge threat to their lives and livelihood on a mass scale, not just a couple people like, hey, don't tell anybody about this or you're going to lose your fucking job. Right.
Yeah, that's exactly it. I think more so with the Epstein thing, it's the threat of losing their job, or possibly just, you know, retaliation. Not just losing your job, but maybe, you know, physical, you know, I don't know, death threats. I don't know. It could be that.
Yeah. They're telling them, look what happened to Epstein. It's going to happen to you if you open your mouth.
Yeah. It's going to happen to you. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Yeah. It's fucking crazy. But the thing that, another fascinating thing about this, and going back to information gathering and Snowden and whatnot, I wonder if he was, it makes sense that he was a whistleblower because he has access to data that a lot of people don't see. But the people who are getting
Right.
wind of this and being called conspiracy theorists while it's happening, saying they're taking our data. Are they looking at contracts from social media? Are they looking at the fine print on Google? All this stuff and figuring it out for themselves. And I know in some cases, in some conspiracy theorist cases, that's what's happening. People are looking at data that they're finding. They're like, holy shit, they're connecting the dots. They're following the money. And nobody's listening to them because no one
Right.
else is willing to look into it. That's an interesting
Right.
part of it, and it's like the Hillary Clinton emails. They're all declassified. Operation Northwoods was obviously declassified a long time ago. All these government operations are declassified, and most people don't know anything about them. Aren't willing to go read declassified information, and just poo-poo off that the government could ever do anything bad to us when it's fucking out there that they have done and
Right.
will do bad things.
It's amazing. It's like, I think Edward Snowden mentioned this in the show on Joe Rogan. He said, they did release some declassified documents about the practices they were doing, but in the declassified documents, a lot of things were redacted. And when he looked over it, he realized this isn't even the same thing I saw.
Mm-hmm.
This is a totally different thing than the actual classified document.
Right.
And so, yeah, it's amazing when I'm baffled when people don't question it and they say, oh, well, the government says, there's no foul play. Okay, moving on.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, really? Like, are we really that asleep? Like we got to be questioning these things. We got to question. I mean, I'm okay with questioning the official story of 9/11. I'm okay with questioning certain military operations and so forth. We should be questioning that and saying, hey, that doesn't add up. You're saying this, but that doesn't add up. What else are you not telling us?
Right.
But unless it's flat Earth shit, because that shit's just stupid.
Absolutely. But yeah, and see that comes back around to what I was saying before, is that be willing to question, especially the government. And I'm happy that Snowden brought up in that interview as well the distinction between the intelligence community and just that, lump sum term, the government, because the government's a lot of different moving parts, and the intelligence community is a lot of different moving
Right.
parts, often working against each other for something as innocuous as funding, all the way up to who knows what. It could be much more nefarious. That's something that I forget all the time, and you see it all the time when anyone's talking about questioning the government and stuff. It's always the government or they. And I know it's all kind of one entity because it's all under that umbrella of government.
Right.
But that's an important thing to try to distinguish between when talking about this stuff, so that, I don't know, it just makes it easier when you're talking with people who don't question, because you're like, the government. They're like, okay, so is Trump doing this? It's like, no, the NSA was gathering data, or whoever this fucking president was,
Right.
Bush or whatever,
Right.
or Obama.
Yeah, it was Bush and Cheney.
Mm-hmm.
I believe that started under Cheney.
Right.
So.
Yeah, it's fucking crazy, but let's just keep the memes flowing, keep the culture moving in a questioning direction, And so, oh yeah, that's the other thing too. The way that this is changing how culture views government and people's willingness to question and push back against government, I think is probably the best way forward. It's a really great path towards, I guess, agorist goals, mostly, because I know we talk about Boogaloo all the time. Boogaloo memes are hot, they're hilarious, and most people wouldn't mind seeing the Boogaloo. myself included to a certain extent. But if we're looking at a peaceful change of culture, like this is only building the ranks of people who question and making that kind of backwards time traveling that Konkin talks about to describe how a free or a state society with government goes to a free and stateless society. And it's just a growing number of people who are anti-government, anti-state, anti-authority, and pro-free markets.
Right. It's, you can point out, I mean, it doesn't necessarily convince people, but if you can point out the flaws in people's logic, you have, if Epstein, I don't believe Epstein killed himself. So who's responsible for that? Well, whoever actually did it, but whoever's not telling the truth is also responsible. And that would be, law enforcement. That would be the correctional officers.
Mm-hmm.
That would be anybody that knows. So you can use that as ammunition to point out the flawed logic in supporting law enforcement to, conservatives and so forth. You can obviously do that with liberals and maybe their support of Hillary and so forth. I will say I do think it was probably the Clintons that did it
for sure.
So I think it was fortuitous for many people, not just the Clintons.
I want to know if the correctional officers that were on duty then are still alive or not right now, because you see people get into a lot of mysterious car accidents or die of natural causes when they're around an event like that. Natural causes, in air quotes.
Natural. Yeah, nothing to see here.
Mm-hmm.
They had a heart attack at age 28, even though they were perfectly healthy. And,
right.
Yeah.
Nothing
to see here. Moving on.
So I guess that's speaking on what I was talking about earlier about culture moving in the right direction towards a peaceful transition, mostly peaceful. I don't think anyone thinks that it's going to be 100% peaceful, even going down the recommendations of Konkin towards the Agora. I think at a certain point down that path, if we start getting the numbers and moving towards a free market society, that at the end of the state's life, it's going to start having death throes. It's going to be thrashing around, trying to hold on to the last bit of what it has. So there's going to be some violence. But as far as the boogo, the fucking hootenanny, whatever the hell you want to call it, there's so many fucking words for it now. And it's awesome.
The big igloo?
The big igloo, the big luau, all that stuff.
Big luau.
As far as that stuff.
Hey, did you hear the story of when I got pulled over by a cop and he saw some guns in my car and he's like, "You're not trying to start the boogaloo, are you?"
Yeah. That's so good. That was memed. I think David memed you for that one. I shared that on the meme cast.
Yeah. I was like, no way. He knows this? He knows? And I just said, I don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah. It's just one more instance of memes traveling, man. Yeah, you gave him the what?
maybe he's worried about the boogaloo. The what?
The what? The
like,
what?
The what? That is so funny.
Fucking A. Well, I think so. This is ramping up. The boogaloo talk and the frustration, and people wanting to employ violence, to have the hootenanny, is ramping up. The general distrust of government and willingness to use violence against them is ramping up. And I think that the things I mentioned before, like Area 51, Storm Area 51 not working out, not getting any closure on Epstein, anything like that. Nothing, there's no big event at the end of all these buildups. And I think that's really getting people on edge. That's really getting people like, what the fuck? Nothing's happening.
Right.
So the boogaloo's getting really popular. And every time I talk about the boogaloo, I don't want to encourage it because it's going to be really horrifically violent if that happens. And there's going to be a lot of death
right.
To innocent people. But if it's going to happen, like if the boog's going to kick off, we're probably not going to, it's not like we're going to go out and start it. It's going to happen. There's going to be some kind of crazy event that's going to go down, and then that last straw is going to break that camel's back, and shit's going to go down. So I just want to recommend that everyone be fucking prepared like you would be for a natural disaster, for anything. Stock up, man. Be ready.
Right. The memes are great, and that's probably the main thing I'll miss when that shit goes down. It's
oh no.
I won't be able to contribute to it, any new community.
Yeah.
They're like, hey, what can you do? And I'm like, I make memes. They're like, I don't know if we can eat those, but it probably will be violent. It's probably going to be horrific. It's going to be more horrific and violent for those that do depend on government. If we were to wake up tomorrow and the government was gone, it would probably be chaos, but mainly for those that do depend on government the most.
Mm-hmm.
People like you and I who do everything we can to not depend on anything that the state, provides.
Mm-hmm.
It's going to be a lot easier for us. It's going to be a lot easier for our families. But we do have to be aware that it's not going to be easy on other people, and then they become essentially animals, and they I do think that will happen if I should say when that shit goes down. It's not going to be pretty. Again, the memes are funny, but I feel like it's going in that direction. I feel like more people are like, kind of just waiting for it to happen on all sides.
Right.
And I think if you're depending on the state in any way, whether if you're a conservative and you support police, or if you're a liberal, or and you're supporting like welfare, I mean, it's going to be a rude awakening for you. And that's why I say, fuck it all. We can't be depending on any portion of the state when shit goes down.
Right. I think it'll be easier in just some aspects, like as far as looking over shoulders and whatnot, waiting for alphabet boys or cops or whatever. That'll be a little easier. It'll be easier for anyone who's taking their lives and their families' lives and the responsibility of caring for yourself and them into your own hands. That is going to make it easier, because you're not going to be getting raped by taxes and things like that, obviously. I mean, money might not be anything, but it's going to be easier to acquire the necessary items to survive. Or if you already have them, not to have to worry about it. Like even people who buy bulk ammo just to prep or even just to shoot probably worry all the fucking time, just because they have a lot of ammo, and that's something the government looks at. Or the government maybe it's the Huffington Post now is talking about night vision and infrared goggles and shit, military grade, all this stuff are available for civilians, and this is a problem. Or government trying to pass laws against body armor for civilians and stuff like that. And people have this shit. So obviously if government's gone, it's not going to be as much of a worry if you own that kind of stuff, that you're going to get a knock on your door one day. But it's not going to be the end of looking over your shoulder, because there's going to be fuckers who want to take that shit too. And that's another thing that's kind of a big build up and then and just nothing coming out of it is Beto dropping out of the race, man. Beto dropping out because that was the people's champion for the Boogaloo, getting ready to take the ARs and stuff that.
I was like, Oh man, he dropped out. Dang it! I was hoping for the boogaloo. I think the the thing that what is it that makes a meme a boogaloo meme, and I think isn't it the night vision goggles.
Oh yeah.
You have to have the night vision goggles.
Oh yeah.
and say something about alphabet boys or whatever. It's but do I really want that? Like, probably
Fuck
not.
no.
I'd have to say no.
Yeah, fuck no.
No, like but it's. I mean, I am definitely preparing for it. I think we should all prepare for it. I think people should, and we've talked about this before. Just the shit that's going down in California with ham radios and fires and power outages and the worst red flag laws being implemented starting. Does it start January 1st?
I think so, yeah. Because they passed a bunch of them. I'm not sure it was when it was implemented. I'm looking for that article right now about some stuff about that.
Yeah, but I mean, we need to prepare for that. Like, just because we don't want it to happen, we need to prepare for it. And I think some people, the only way to deal with the fear is to just joke about it and make memes. But
yeah.
Again, if you can use memes to break down barriers and make people aware, do it.
Sure.
Making people laugh in the process really does break down barriers. It opens people up, and it's fun to trigger both sides. If you're trying to trigger conservatives or liberals or whatever, I find it more fun to trigger conservatives because I think they're bigger hypocrites. But
it's especially fun in the Joe Rogan Experience podcast group.
My gosh, there's so many boomers in there.
No, but for real, man. So check this out. So we know Beto was never gonna. Why do I keep calling him that? That's disrespectful. Robert O'Rourke. We know he was never gonna get the Francis, whatever, Robert Francis. He's never gonna.
Francis.
He was never gonna. He was never gonna win. He never polled higher than Elizabeth Warren. I think she's still polling better than all the rest of the Democrats, and that's like that in itself is like what the fuck. But the extreme gun grabbing that he put out there and had people cheering for, and then if you notice, I think all the Democrats this time around are much more out in the open about wanting to, at the very least, heavily regulate guns here, and that's just that's them getting people comfortable with that.
Most draconian.
Yeah. And it's just them trying to get that into the mainstream so that people are comfortable with it. Because if you're a diehard going to vote Democrat no matter what, just because it's not a Republican, you don't have any choice except for a gun grabber.
Right.
And if you're not going to change your vote, then you're making yourself okay with that. So they're out there talking about all this stuff and making a whole large group of people not only okay with it, but backing it up. Like that video of the lady who went to Francis's one of his town hall meetings where he's standing on the steps of a courthouse or whatever, and they were talking, and she said, in regards to what you said about hell yes, we're going to take your AR-15s and AK-47s, hell no you won't. Mm-hmm. And there's people in the crowd yelling back at her, hell yeah we will, we're all here, and all this stuff. And they're turning people into
my hell.
I don't know if I want to say boots on the ground, because these people are pansies. They're not anything that's going to be able to do this, especially if they're giving up their guns. They're not going to be going door to door and trying to take people's guns. So, but they're opening up that mindset.
We have I will say that too many conservatives, if not, I don't know any that are. Especially the Trump supporting conservatives. I find them to be the most hypocritical in all this because, they hate it when, Francis is pushing this stuff. But when it comes from their own president, and he has, he's on record as saying, take the guns first. due process second. He has already banned bump stocks, and it doesn't matter that those aren't guns; they're still part of it, and it's still a gun grab. He supports universal background checks, and he supports red flag laws. I mean, the guy is an anti-gun president, and we have to call him out. We have to call out both sides on this. Like a lot of conservatives are all relieved, that Beto dropped out, but it's like hello, your own president, the one you support currently, has many of the same stances.
Right.
He is very anti-gun.
Yep.
And he's very dangerous, and he's just like that Dan Crenshaw, the pirate.
What a boob.
I mean, the guy has said, I support red flag laws. I mean, how are people not awake to this?
Right.
It's crazy.
Yeah, I don't get it, man. I don't get it. Even the most hardcore, United States conservative politically types are bending over for this kind of stuff.
Right.
And those are the people who traditionally were always about the Second Amendment and no more infringement and whatnot. And it's just completely ridiculous. I wanted to hop back to, we were talking about the red flag laws that might be taking effect in January, I think is what we're thinking. I can't remember. But I found this article the other day. I was looking at it because I was talking on a few episodes ago with Jason Booth. I'm sure I brought it up a couple more times with other guests since then. But Jason is in California, so he's aware of the things going on there. So we were talking about, I think it was like at least 14 new measures passed as far as gun control and red flag laws. More curfews being implemented, and because he did confirm, and I don't fucking know because I haven't lived in California, but there's been curfews there since like the 70s in some places. But there's more curfews going on.
Really?
Mm-hmm. There's more curfews being implemented, and then also the PG&E, the California Power Company, shutting off their power in different areas, and then the ham radio that we were talking about. And we were talking about specifically the piece that didn't really fit was the PG&E power getting cut to certain places, and it was for fire safety or because the infrastructure was it's not up to date, and it's getting overloaded and whatnot, so they're shutting it down to conserve and whatnot. But now this article comes out that says California governor threatens state takeover of PG&E. So I'll see if I can link this in the show notes or the description so people can read this. But I'm telling you, man, I don't care if I look like an idiot if it doesn't happen, but all these things together to me smell like a soft test or even a hard test for door-to-door gun confiscations. Your power's out. They have legal full reign through the red flag laws and gun restrictions. You don't have any ham radio way, like one of the only ways you can get out there.
So there's no communication.
Out. Yeah, you can't be out after night when they can't keep an eye on you, or after whatever time they fucking say, if it's martial law, curfews, whatever. That's the perfect time for these fucking teams to go door to door and try to take guns.
Right. And the piece that doesn't fit for me is definitely the ham radios. I mean, I need to get into ham radios more, but I mean, they are they're basically the last line of defense when it comes to communication.
Mm-hmm.
You can communicate all around the world with them.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, why are they suddenly, banning those, banning these towers on some of the public lands where it's not hurting anybody. There's no reason for it. Just, they're just done allowing them on public lands, even though they don't maintain them. The owners of the ham radios maintain them.
Right.
And set them up and all this stuff. It's like, why? Like, why are you getting rid of these? There's no reason. And then you have, the fires and the power outages and red flag laws. Yeah, I think something is going to go down in California, or at least tried.
Yeah. Yeah, there's an interesting thing that I've seen going around about the fires for a couple years, I think, of California fires now. But it shows an overlay of a map of the super fast train, whatever, the light rail or whatever the hell it's called they want to build, that was going to go from Northern California all the way to Southern. And these fires just happen to be burning in the areas that they want the land to put this on. I don't know. I can't, confirm anything about that. I'll see if I can find the map and put it up on the Facebook page maybe or something. But if anyone listening knows anything about that, about the proposed construction area for the bullet train or whatever in California, and that the fires are supposedly being started to burn people and people's property out of the way and clear forest and whatnot for that, comment that on the Facebook page when I post this episode. Go to the Enemy of the State's Dank Pod-Stash on Facebook and let me know what you know, because I'm curious. Yeah, it's fucking interesting. You're zoning out there for a second. I thought you were gonna have something on that.
I'm just no, I sorry, I got nothing there. But yeah, it's we'll see what happens. There's California. We tend to mock California and say they can drop off the map, but there are some good people there that I would say any of your listeners that are there, I mean, I would recommend getting out.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's been a dangerous place for a long time. It's just we'll see what happens. I think if there is that mass confiscation of weapons, and anybody that does somehow get the word out that is going on, I think it unfortunately would probably be dismissed because it's just a few people or something.
Mm-hmm.
And so, or just not talked about. So we'll see what happens. But yeah, I would recommend getting out of California. It's been a dangerous place for a long time.
For sure. Well, let's take a few minutes here towards the end of the show, man. I got stuff I want to talk about for the show, some of which does include you. We recorded a little, I think it was like a 20-minute episode, and it's on. I'll tell people what it's about. It was on like anarcho-Christian versus non-religious anarchy, pretty much. The philosophies behind both. A little 15, 20-minute conversation about that, and I think that's something where either you and I or me and somebody else, but it can be whatever, different guests, but it would be cool if it was you and I would continue doing that. And I like the name Hot Tokes instead of Hot Takes. These are your Dank Pod-Stash Hot Tokes. So that's going to be our first conversation there. Little 15, 20-minute blurb is going to be coming out this next Wednesday. I'm going to have that up, released on YouTube only, not on podcast players. This is specifically for and exclusively for the YouTube channel. So if you want to check out the Dank Pod-Stash Hot Tokes once a week, check that out. And this goes along with some changes to the Patreon, which has been super awesome. I'm super grateful for the patrons that we have. The podcast is I'm not losing money doing this anymore. I've broken even. So the people who are supporting me are literally bringing everybody else the show, because I pay for services to get this out there at the best quality I can for you guys. So if you go to the Dank Pod-Stash Patreon, it's right there on the screen if you're watching YouTube, patreon.com/the Dank Pod-Stash. For just $1 a month, you get full access to the Dank Pod-Stash Discord, and you get Hot Tokes on Monday instead of Wednesday, because Hot Tokes are coming out every Wednesday, and you'll get to see them the Monday beforehand. So check that out. I've been behind on the newsletter. That's going to keep coming out. That's the $5 tier. The after hours, you get another, I don't know, it's anywhere from an hour to 2 hours of extra content with guests from the show. And I talk to people after we stop recording. We start recording again specifically for videos for the Patreon. And if you're a Dank Pod-Stash newsletter subscriber, you know who's coming up, so you can have questions ready that I'll ask. I'm making a montage of a specific question that I'm asking every guest. So that's really cool. That's going to come out in episode 100. And then the newest tier, we got one guy, one of my good buddies on this tier, the $50 tier, is the Dank Pod-Stash T-shirt club. If you support the show at $50 a month on either Patreon or BitBacker, you get a Dank Pod-Stash T-shirt of your choice from the Threadless shop, any design. I'm going to be coming out with new designs every month too. So that's the updates for what's going on with the Pod-Stash. I'd love your support. Keep bringing this to you. Get Daniel up in here once a week with us to do some hot tokes. That would be awesome. And in a couple weeks, we may even have a news segment that is going to be exclusively for the YouTube channel. So definitely get over to the YouTube channel if you have not yet subscribed and you're only listening on the podcast players, and check that out. Keep an eye out. We're going to have somebody bringing you the Anarchist News, which is going to be pretty exciting. That should be awesome.
On.
Yeah. Looking forward to fun shit here, man. And yeah, anywhere you can find the Pod-Stash. The links are in all the descriptions. They're on all the different pages. Throw me some likes, some subscribes, all that stuff. Help me keep this shit going, because I like sitting here and talking to Daniel, to be quite honest, and letting you guys listen in. No, it's a really good time. I learned something new most every episode, and it's just really fun to talk to people in the community. I like that. That's the whole point of the show, is bringing everyone in the community to everyone else's attention. Much better, I think, than some other models. I won't get into specifics there, but I enjoy it. Fucking A, man. All right, well, let's call that a show, Broseph.
Okay, sounds good. Hey, it's good talking to you, man.
Yeah, man. Thanks for saving my bacon.
Yeah, no problem. Pleasure, anytime.
Hell yeah. All right, let's do the after hours then. Remember, everybody,
okay.
Total freedom, no exceptions.
Zombie presidents, what anarchy! Zombie presidents! Zombie presidents, what anarchy!